ubi de eius adventu helvetii certiores facti sunt, legatus ad eum mittunt, nobilissimos civitatis, cujus legationis Namios et ver Cloetius principum locum obtenebant, qui digerent sibi esse in animo sine allo maleficio iter per provinciam facere, propter ea quod aliud iter haberent nullum. Rogare ut eius voluntate id sibi facere liceat. We are starting off with ubi, which introduces a dependent clause, when, and then let's see, we have a prepositional phrase, de eius adventu. Then we have the Helvetii as the subject, certiores facti sunt, when the Helvetians were made certain. When they were made certain, when they found out about adventu, the arrival of him being Caesar. So when the Helvetians were made certain about his arrival, let's see, what did they do? Legatus ad eum, look, prepositional phrase, mittunt. Oh, that's not so bad. We have an accusative here, legatos, and mittunt. They send ambassadors to him. What kind of ambassadors? Nobilissimos civitatis. So nobilissimos goes with that. The most noble guys, the most noble ambassadors, civitatis, of the state. Notice that's genitive. Then we have another chunk here, cujus legationis. Notice that is genitive. Of which diplomatic unit, legationis, that's a ambassadorship. They're trying to get something to happen diplomatically. Of which diplomatic unit? Namios et ver Cloetius, those guys are nominative. Then we have another chunk. So we've got this as a subject. And this chunk here, the chief spot, notice noun adjective pair, principum modifies locum, obtenebat. Okay, so these guys held the principum locum of this group of ambassadors. Then we start this ginormous relative clause. Actually, it's a relative clause of purpose. We know that because there's qui and then digerent as a subjunctive. So instead of using ut as a subjunctive to do this or to say this, instead they use qui. Those guys held the chief place and their job was to say, uh-oh, is that say like a knowing, sensing, or saying verb? I bet you we have an indirect statement coming up. Let's see how it goes. It goes here to there, and then it kind of keeps going. Let's see. So they say that it was in the mind to them, i.e., it was their idea, it was in the mind to them, and it's in indirect statement. We've got the essay infinitive there. So it was their job to say that they had this idea to do what? Let's see, well, prepositional phrase, without any trouble. Then we have an accusative, and then we have another prepositional phrase, through the province. Oh, they had in mind to make a trip through the province without any trouble, which kind of makes sense because if you're a horde of wandering barbarians and you want to get permission to go through the Roman province, you probably are going to say things like, we promise not to break anything. So one more time. Namius and ver Cloetius were holding the chief spot of this diplomatic group whose job it was, who were supposed to say that it was in the mind to them. Notice this is a dative of possession. They had in mind to make a trip through the province without any trouble. Propter ea quod. By now, you should really be used to Caesar saying that. He does it all the time. I think this is the fourth time we've seen it. Especially because aliud iter haberent nullum. Aliud modifies iter. The subject of haberent is probably the Helvetians. And nullum also goes with iter, especially because they had nullum aliud iter, no other way, right? They didn't want to go the other way, so they're telling the Romans, hey, this is the only way we can go. Pretty please, with sugar on top, can we march through your province? Oh, and then we're going to keep going. Rogare, they ask that. So this is continuing our indirect statement. So it's really who said that they were asking that. And then right here, this is an indirect command because whenever you're trying to convince someone to do something, you get the ut plus a subjunctive, and that's an indirect command. The problem is this subjunctive verb, likiat, is kind of weird. It's used impersonally. It means to be permitted. They ask that it be permitted to them to do this, i.e. to make that trip. And then this little chunk here, with the permission or will of him being Caesar. One more time. They ask that it be permitted for them to do this with the permission of him.